computer monitors, right? Oh, here we go. First boss time. Hey. Yep. Hello and welcome back to int+one channel. This is Carl and today I'm going to be playing Sonic the Hedgehog. This is actually the PlayStation 3 release as part of the Sonic and Sega, or maybe it's Sega and Sonic collection. You know, I can't remember, but this actually has like Sonic 1, 2, and 3 on it. Just was really the easiest way to get this game in widescreen without it looking like total trash. This is actually stretched, so it's 16 by 9, but it's stretching that 4 by 3 screen. And I do have the screen smoothing turned on. I actually don't think it looks bad for this title. I may decide to turn it off. I'm not too much of a purist, so it doesn't really bother me that it actually looks like that. Well, with that said, hey, I'm actually starting what I'm calling the countdown to Sonic Mania. On August 15th, Sonic Mania comes out for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. Not sure if it's coming out on Switch. Maybe it's coming out on the Switch too, right? Anyway, I'm a long-standing Sonic the Hedgehog fan, right? I know it's one of those secret shame kind of things, right? Sonic games are great if you're talking about the classic games. The modern ones, maybe not so much, right? With the exception of Sonic Generations, which I actually thought was pretty brilliant. So basically my plan, if you're just joining in, is that I'm going to be playing through as many Sonic games as I can between now and August 15th. So basically 30 days of Sonic the Hedgehog videos. I'm going to try and aim for publishing at least one Sonic video every day. And I'm going to do each level kind of separately. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to make a separate video for, like, you know, the first zone and the second zone and the third zone, because in Sonic the Hedgehog 1, each level has 3 zones, whereas in 2 and 3 they have... Oh, well, actually, no, I'm sorry. I'm a liar. They're all zones. They're actually acts, so... I haven't played these games really since I was a kid. So let's go ahead and let's do the thing. Thanks for joining me for episode 1 of Let's Play Sonic the Hedgehog. So I'm also hoping that since it's been a while since I played, that I will actually improve. I was actually pretty good at these games as a kid, but it's been a while. Oh, hey, there's a hidden spring there. Boom. And part of what actually got me thinking about doing this is I started watching this YouTuber who goes by the name of Cybershell. See, that's a rookie mistake right there. And man, I'll tell you, watching him play through the original Sonic the Hedgehog games was just, I don't know, like it awoke something in me, and that's when I went ahead and I looked up the release date for Sonic Mania, and I'd already been excited about it. Not really too keen on this whole Sonic Forces game that they're working on, but... Let's see, do I want to go down to the left? I feel like I'm taking the path I always took, but I'm definitely missing out on a lot of rings. It's a little bit awkward too, actually, adjusting to the PlayStation 3 controller, just in general and for this game, actually. So, I grew up with a Sega Genesis, or I should say, I grew up with a Sega Genesis, like maybe the middle of my childhood. I had wanted one for years, right? I mean, I don't know what it was, but somehow I was just a huge Sonic the Hedgehog fan, but I didn't own a Sega Genesis. I had like an NES, and I had a Super NES. And there was like, there's this place called BJ's Wholesale Club. I used to live in New York State. I couldn't tell you what city it was in. I was a kid. But they had a demo unit in both the BJ's Wholesale Club and then this place called Service Merchandise, which had a lot of electronics. And I would just... if I saw it anytime I was shopping with my mother or my parents, I would just make a beeline for that demo unit. And I swear it had Sonic the Hedgehog, the original Sonic the Hedgehog, in it for quite some time. There we go. Hey, I got a 1-up. Anyway, I would just fantasize about having the game, right? I mean, you know, it's funny because the Super Nintendo had some great games. It didn't have Sonic, right? There was something that Sonic had, like, this cool factor that I really can't qualify. You know, it looked amazing compared to pretty much any NES game, period. And, you know, that's almost the context that the Genesis showed up on. And interestingly, you know, for some reason, the game system itself was known as the Mega Drive in in Europe, and I guess in Japan. Whoa, 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 whoa! Oh. It's worth noting that I've never actually been good at these. I love that Sonic 2 special stage. I love that Sonic 3 special stage. For some reason, I am just exceptionally bad at these, right? Like, I try, I go for the emerald. No. It's not a thing. But, you know, I want to say that for a year before I ever had a Sega Genesis, I had the strategy guide for the original Sonic the Hedgehog. And what was really cool about it is it actually had an excerpt from the Sonic the Hedgehog comic, like episode or issue 0 or something like that. It had like a big white cover and was a little bit different than the rest of them, actually. Like it had like Sonic starting off with like, hey, I'm gonna get some chili dogs and fight Robotnik or whatever, right? And I was like, oh man, Sonic likes chili dogs. Maybe I'll like chili dogs. And it's funny because actually I do. I live now in a state called North Carolina, and there's this chain of like fast food restaurants called Cookout, and they do chili cheese dogs. And I think that my favoritism for it, actually, yeah, it's definitely because I like Sonic the Hedgehog. Oh, let's get these running shoes. Whoa, I'm a dumb... Oh my god. Well, hey, there's my first death. So that's one of the things about the original Sonic, right? Some of the difficulty is interesting because the moment you hit those spikes... Yeah, you saw that I bounced basically 3 times, right? Once to lose my shield, once to lose my rings, and then one to immediately die. It's a really interesting choice, to be honest, because in a lot of games, especially in the 2D era, you would actually have like temporary invincibility. Well, that's kind of true in this game, but the moment you touch those spikes, it's like this long, drawn-out death. Whoa, 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 whoa! Hey, there's things and stuff and things. How do I get up there? This doesn't have the spin dash. There's some actually later releases for like not iOS, yeah, iOS and Android, I guess, where they actually put those features in. This one though, this one doesn't have that, so I don't really have a way to just build up speed like that. Oh, I already did that. And it's funny because I find myself wanting to just press down and you know, just let it rip, right? Which, you know, my childhood brain, you know, I was never really clear on what was going on behind Sonic, right? He just kind of goes a little sideways, starts this spin dash thing, and I thought he always looked like he had a bit of Cool Whip or something behind him, right? Like some kind of whipped cream. And I never really thought of it as, I guess, like kicking up dust or whatever it's supposed to evoke. But, man, I was such a weird kid. I love Sonic so much that, yeah, I would just read through that strategy guide for, you know, hours and hours and just fantasize about actually having that, no, mine, no, mine. There we go. I would fantasize about actually getting the game, basically. I thought I would never have it. And my parents did the coolest thing, and it's really weird now that I think about it, but basically, they got me the game, but they got me the game at a point in time that I never would have expected. I must have been about 11, and they got it when it was Father's Day, right? I mean, obviously, I wasn't a father at 11. And they had me bring the Sega Genesis actually to my dad. I didn't know what was inside of it, right? It was like an empty box. Or not an empty box, but, you know, like a present box. Oh, my God. This is awful. I'm doing terrible. Anyway, here we go. Here we go. I'm getting somewhere. Oh, are you serious? Oh, there we go. At least that was a thing. So he opens it, right? And it's like, oh, you know, Sega Genesis, what I always wanted or something like that, right? And I'm like, oh, no, that's... Oh. Yeah, okay. I want a Sega Genesis, right? Like, oh, I love Sonic the Hedgehog. Where'd you get it? And then he's like, you know, can you help me hook it up? Well, sure, I'll let you hook it up. And then basically, yeah, it was gifted to me, right? It was like, oh, okay, here, Carl, here's your Sega Genesis. And I'm like, oh man, this is like the best day ever, right? And you know, it had the Sonic the Hedgehog game as a pack-in, I believe. It also had this really cool don't know, like a card inside of it or something, right? And it was like, mail this off to get a free copy of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which was a thing for a little while. And, you know, we mailed that off. It said it could take 6 to 8 weeks to show up, and boy, it sure did. So I didn't actually have many games for the Sega Genesis, but, you know, to be honest, and in all fairness, I didn't actually, you know, I didn't exactly grow up in a rich family either, so just even having it at all was really cool, right? And I would check the mail pretty much every day. Every day it would occur to me to fudge. No, oh, okay, I thought I was gonna land on spikes. And then, you know, of course, it showed up one day, and I was like, oh, that's amazing. And I'd periodically pick up these gaming magazines. I thought I could beat it. Silly me. And so, you know, I already knew, like, all the debug codes. And back then, actually, I thought it was like a debut code. I don't know. I had this weird notion that it wasn't pronounced debug. It was like something like you went in the sound test. It was like 1965, 9, and 17, and then you know you could basically turn into objects and level select, and there are a bunch of other codes too. And apparently that I think I watched a Did You Know Gaming episode actually that talked about what that actually meant. Of course, now that I'm actually playing it, I can't remember. But you know, honestly, when this game came out, it really was one of the best-looking 2D platforming games just on the market. Period. I want that. I want that right there. That little TV monitor. It's actually kind of weird that the rings basically come out of what I can only think of as like 19. What the heck? What? Stop it. What? like these sort of 1980s, 1990s-esque computer monitors, right? Oh, here we go. First boss time. Hey. Yep. That was one of the interesting things about this game, too, was that, like, all the bosses took basically 8 hits, right? And, I look back at that era, and I feel like the golden number was 3. And so Sonic kind of broke the convention. It was like, you'd hit a boss 3 times, and then it'd be all over. And this game said, no, 8 times. 8 times is completely appropriate. Let's do 8 times. So, well, kudos to them. They definitely built one heck of a franchise. Well, I am actually at the beginning of Marble Zone. So, I want to thank you for joining me today for episode 1 of Let's Play Sonic the Hedgehog as part of my countdown to Sonic Mania. I hope to see you for episode 2, where we're going to tackle Marble Garden Zone. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and like it. If you haven't subscribed, be number 178. If you want to be, because that's where I'm at right now. And I would love some comments. Let me know what you think about my narrative style. If it's terrible, go ahead and let me know. If you like it, that's cool too. And hey, you know what? Let's keep doing the thing, and I'll see you next time.